There you go. He said ready. He said ready. Yeah.
I hate this delay.
Oh.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me this evening are Adam
Hello.
and Inquisitor on the same mic.
Hello.
And as it is once again a Friday, I'm, of course, the keeper for this evening, Sanguine. How are both of you doing tonight?
I am doing all right. I am putting together a bug, and I never thought I would ever do this army.
Nice. And how about yourself, Adam?
I'm playing some Tekken 7 with my pale souls. Yeah,
Nice.
I do well.
And as for myself, I'm doing just grand. I had a fantastic dinner of some pork enchiladas with a finger of blonde rum. And now I'm just relaxed.
You say blonde rum?
Yes, blonde rum.
You ever had blonde rum?
Oh.
It's really interesting. It's if I remember correctly, it's a bunch of like Caribbean fruits, sort of stuff like that, along with the rum, right?
So all rum, or pretty much all rum, is just fermented sugarcane.
Yeah.
Then the difference between blonde, so you have blonde, spiced, gold, or you have, blonde, spiced,
Gold.
dark, and some people will also add what's known as amber in there as well, where amber is kind of like a halfway between blonde and dark.
Mhm.
Golden is another term for blonde rum.
Yeah.
It means that it is the least aged of those, where it hasn't been in the barrel for very long, so it doesn't get that deep, like, whiskey coloration.
Yeah. Or that like harsher taste either.
Well, the harshness of the taste is two different things affect the harshness of the taste. It's the number of distillations and the length of time aged. The greater the number of distillations, the smoother the taste. The longer time in a barrel, the smoother the taste. Because the thing that makes alcohols harsh are volatile chemicals. These volatile chemicals are either boiled off during distillation, and they appear in lesser and lesser concentrations as you age up the alcohol, as you distill the alcohol.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why Canadian whiskey is much harsher than American whiskey, is much harsher than Scotch and Irish. Because
dude, Canadian whiskey is really harsh, dude. I don't know how anybody can fucking drink that Welsh.
Hey now.
Hey!
Canadian whiskey is...
I didn't mean Welsh. I mean,
Huh?
I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking.
I was gonna say I got some Crown Royal in my room.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I was just giving it out because of your old.
Because of good old Eeyore, yeah, I know.
But yeah, Canadian whiskey is a blend of single and double distilled. American whiskey is just double distilled. Irish whiskey is triple distilled.
Yeah.
So that affects the smoothness. Then the other thing is the length of time aged, which is why Scotch is as smooth as Irish whiskey for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they have much longer much longer aging for Scotch whiskey.
So when it comes to Irish whiskey, the youngest Irish whiskey that you will get that's known as whiskey rather than Pasheen, Pasheen being Irish moonshine, is going to be 3 years and a day. That means it was aged for the minimum of 3 years, and in order to make sure that they didn't count wrong, they always add on a day. So it's 3 years and a day. The youngest Scotch that you will ever get that is Scotch whiskey and not their version of Shine will be a 5 years and a day.
Yeah. I could have sworn it was like 6, at least for some of them. Like they set that as the standard as 6.
Oh, the higher the quality, the longer the time that they will age it. But in order to qualify, if I remember correctly, it's 5 years and a day.
Okay. I'll say because the one that I looked at the most when I was looking into Scotches was Johnny Walker to see how Johnny Walker stood up, and I think Black Label it's 6 years.
Yeah. So it's Red Label is the 5 year because Red Label's slightly lower quality than Black.
Yeah.
It still tastes fantastic, but it's a little bit harsher.
Yeah.
And it's 5 years in a day. Then Black is 6. Double Black is still 6, but it uses heavier charring on the cask, which gives it that deep smokiness, or more of that deeper smokiness. Not just the peating smokiness, but then also the char smoky.
Yeah.
And then you have from Black and Double Black, it goes to, I always forget if it's green or silver next. I want to say it's green.
I think it's green, yeah. I know blue is like their really expensive one, and that's like their highest end.
Blue and purple are their 2 high ends.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a 12-year, right?
Let me quickly double check what their blue aging is. Because the interesting thing is, as these are blends, the actual composition of a blue will change from year to year. So you could get a blue this year and you could get a blue next year. And they might only have 2 scotches in common between them. Or they might have absolutely no scotches in common between them because they pull from a decent number of different distilleries. So let's see, what is the aging on blue? Just pulling it up, and of course I have to enter in my date of birth on this. Oh, and then they do have higher than blue now because they also have their King George V.
Okay.
But I think blue is more. Yeah, blue is more than 12 because for gold, it's looking like they have a fair number of golds at 18.
Okay.
And since blue's higher, that means that blue will probably be 20 plus. So it is a well-matured.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
But then I have other ones, like my most expensive bottle of whiskey that I currently own, I found out is near $1,000. Yes, I did pull a Harry with this.
Oh, God.
That's expensive, dude.
Well, I didn't purchase the bottle. I was gifted a bottle that is now $1,000.
Okay. So it's like appreciated in value over time.
Yes, because it is a particularly old Lafroig.
Okay.
And Lafroigs, I'm not sure if you guys are terribly familiar with them, are you?
No.
So Lafroig is an old Islay whiskey.
Okay.
And it tends to be a fair bit more expensive. So let me quickly pull up my local alcohol purveyor, so I can tell you the difference in price between a standard Johnny and a standard Lefroy, because that'll give you a good point of reference.
Sure.
So, click this open, and
Oh shit! I don't know who this person is.
Lefroy. So,
Oh, no, it's
you guys know the difference between Islay and the various other scotches?
No.
No.
So an Islay is much more heavily peated than the other scotches. So peating is the process where they dry the barley using peat fires.
Yeah. And so it's also, in my opinion, one of the ways to make it taste the worst. But it's just
I
me.
love the smoke.
I hate peating. I think it tastes gross. Like, it's heavily peated. It's just bleh.
So I have the Islay. So a 1.75 liter Johnny Walker Black is $52.
Okay.
It's not bad.
You get half of that volume, actually less than half of that volume. You get a liter less of Lefroy 10 year, which is their baseline Lefroy,
Mm-hmm.
for $54.
Okay.
So you're looking at Lefroy is about twice or more the price.
Yeah.
And it goes up from there drastically. So, I might have 2 bottles that are now expensive. Because I just noticed one of the types of Lefroy that I have is no longer on the list. Because there's... Are you guys familiar with what cask strength means?
Yeah.
I have a cask strength of a Cardias, which is one of the Islay lines. And the non-cask strength is already $90-something.
Oh, jeez.
And mine is currently $300. Okay. So I have another bottle of whiskey that has appreciated rather nicely. But yeah, the one that I have that went up in price insanely is like a 20-something year Lefroy. So, like I said, that one's now $1,000. And then this one, my Cardias, apparently went up to about $300. So that's nice to know.
Yeah.
So, what, pray tell, are you stashing all these liquors for?
The apocalypse,
On
obviously.
a liquor cart. It's just sitting on my liquor cart right next to me.
Oh, wait, hold on. What was the question, Adam? You said, what are you storing all these liquors for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did he?
Obviously,
What am
the
I storing
apocalypse.
them for? Because they're delicious and I drink them.
Yeah,
No, that makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not like I'm looking to sell off these bottles. No, I'm drinking them. I just drink them very slowly when I realize, holy shit, this is expensive now.
Yeah. Well, you
Which
know,
is-
like a fine cigar. You don't want to just burn through all of them, you know.
Yeah, which is why I have, like, my daily drivers would be Jamesons and Whistlers and that like.
Mhm.
And it's special occasions that I'll go, you know what? I'll tap into a finger of that ridiculously expensive bottle of Lefroy.
It's the same sort of mentality I was telling Adam and Bug that I tap into that frost that I bought at the winery when we get a house.
Nice. But yeah, I have alcohols that are my rare libations, which are the more expensive ones. Normally, other than the two that I just mentioned, that tops out in the low hundreds.
Mhm.
Maybe 150 if I'm really pushing it.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I'll stick to like a $100 through
I mean, he's
or
playing somebody else.
Oh, sure.
a really nice art bag.
Well, let's talk about
And then I have
this.
my cheaper ones of Jameson, Whistler, some Americans. I also have a handful of cheap scotches, but not really all cheap. And then kind of the in-between point as well. So that'd be my Penderin, which is my Welsh whiskey, and have more expensive Irish whiskeys as well.
Mhm.
One of the ones that, even though it's not ridiculously expensive, is also in my very rare tickle category, is the one bottle of Jameson that I cracked open with you guys on the 4th ages ago,
Mhm.
which was you can only get it at the Jameson distillery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You one that's you have personalized with your name?
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that one's also I will very rarely crack open that bottle and have a finger of it. Otherwise, like I said, I have my more budget conscious, shall we say, whiskeys and scotches that I will drink more regularly, and rums as well.
I'll say my favorite. Did you hear about the one lawyer that insured a box of cigars against fire, and then
Glorious.
claimed it, and the judge ruled in favor of the lawyer rather than the insurance company?
And I'm assuming it wasn't that they went up in a house fire.
No, he smoked them. But the best part about it is after the judge did rule in favor, because now the judge did say that the lawsuit was frivolous, but the insurance company did insure them against fire, so it's true.
And they didn't specify fire outside of normal usage.
So what the insurance company did is they wrote him a check. And then as soon as he cashed the check, they had the police come to his house and arrest him for a series of a bunch of small arsons.
Nice. Very nice. But yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things that you can do when it comes to bullshit laws.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was gonna say, like I said, that was the perfect end to a bullshit frivolous lawsuit.
Oh yeah. You want to have this be a thing? You want to get paid out? Okay, you're going to prison. Fuck you.
Yep. Say you just got you just admitted to arson. So I'm just saying.
You admitted that you knowingly burnt valuable property.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did you knowingly burn valuable property, but you knowingly did it in order to defraud the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
And because this wasn't in Detroit, you didn't get away with it.
Yeah, right.
You find the rando?
I don't know. It said.
But
hop in.
do either of you have a topic that you want to launch into, or shall I pull out the one topic that gave tonight its name?
That's up to you, sir.
Yeah,
whatever
dude.
you want to do.
You're the host with the most.
I was asking if you guys had a topic, though.
Oh, I mean, dude, come on. There's plenty that I can bring up that we can talk about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this is
I mean, you want to talk on a personal one? Yeah, talk about the glowy that got fired.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Here's a funny story. Okay, so I'll try and like numb it down so it's not,
Yeah.
Was someone trying to get you to become part of a conspiracy to kidnap the mayor or some shit?
No. Okay, so at work we had this lady who started working, and it's kind of odd because I work in tech. Don't get too
Mhm.
many women working in tech, so much as somewhat attractive looking women. Um, it's just odd.
Mm-hmm.
And
They are not
me,
usual.
yeah, like whatever, it happens. And not to
And it's
downplay,
nice
not
when
to
it's actually a
well,
thing that happens, and
Mhm.
well,
not when it's through less than above board mechanism, shall we say?
I would hope so. And like I said, my good nature, I would hope that everything's on the up and up, and I'd like to keep it because, when I go to work, and here's my little magic buffer, I'm casting. When I'm at work, I go to work.
Yep.
I listen to my news, I listen to my stories, and I do my job. I'm not trying to make friends. I'm not trying to be buddy with people.
What the fuck is going on here? Why is like everything blocked? What the hell?
Oh yeah, souls. So anyway, so this lady started working, and she immediately was one of those like, just give me the attention, you know.
Mm.
And she wanted to. Oh yeah, I can joke around with the dudes, and
Did she do? Okay, so this is something that I noticed a lot when I was working very specific jobs, especially EMS and corrections. There would be someone that would join up and they would try to immediately begin bullshitting with everyone, like everyone was bullshitting with each other, not realizing that you had to earn that shit.
Yeah, it's like it sounds like when Adam has described her, that's exactly what it sounded like she was doing.
yeah, it's yeah, because I don't want to tell all these little stories and stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm not asking
But,
for
yeah,
those.
details.
I was just asking if that was.
But that's yeah,
because I've seen that happen. I
and
don't.
I
Countless
get it.
through those jobs where
Yeah,
people will bullshit and then it'll be the new guy and he'll just go way too fucking hard, way too fucking fast on something that he doesn't know the guy like that, and everyone's suddenly going, okay, so who wants to watch Louis get his ass kicked in the parking lot after?
well, no, I mean, even before this lady, we had a dude that was in there, and he was kind of the same way, but
Yep.
he was all about fitness and exercise. And I go to the gym, and I have this trainer, and we do this, and then I have this nutritionist, and he makes me these meals, and we do this, and it's like, dude, we're working with computers, and we're doing our job. Why in the fuck?
What the fuck are you talking about?
That'd be one thing if you got to know the people first and you realized someone else was into fitness and you two
Well,
started.
no. That's why
Yeah.
he started it, because there was one person into fitness.
And then he's just kind of like making
he
it
just
everyone's
goes
problem, though.
Yeah,
Right.
and I hate to say it, I really do, but I can't help it. I'm barrel chested,
Mhm.
so I look like I'm sitting there going,
Yeah,
like, but I'm not. I just that's how I stand,
Mhm.
you know, and so I can. It's one of those things. But with this lady too, the same thing. She came in, guns a blazing, and earlier this week, um, I start working on a system, wiping a hard drive in a mule system, and I look at the base plate for this laptop, and I'm like, wow, this thing is pretty shitty. And I call over my other coworker technician. I'm like, hey, come check this out. And I just start hearing this lady start complaining, like, you know what? I'm fucking sick of this shit. And we both look at her. I'm like, who is she talking to? And so she goes off, like, she's like, he keeps staring at me, and we're all like, what the hell is she talking about? And so I guess, I don't know, somebody made her feel uncomfortable, and she went to apologize, but apparently she was doing other things that was making other people feel uncomfortable.
Well, you kept on telling me stories about how she'd try to flirt with you for no like real terribly apparent reason.
Oh yeah, well like I said, I shut her down. I don't play that shit, dude.
Yeah, right.
I go to work and
I want to work.
even at the place I was working at in Buffalo Grove, we had a lot of these ladies working there, where they knew all the guys in the area wanted to get with them, so they were like, "Ooh, flirty, flirty." It's like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, "Hey, I really need a display cable. So do you have the cable over here? Like, I don't." You really don't need to fucking.
Oh, Adam, don't you want to?
No.
Well, I hate to say it. I hate to use this stereotype, but there's a reason why it's a stereotype. That's probably part of the reason why you were picked out to be flirted with, because
You
when
don't like it?
you are just kind of like, yes, this is what we need to do. Okay, let's do that. And you aren't fawning over them or giving them
the
any
reaction.
real sort of reaction or interaction. It's just kind of like a, yes, I see you're there.
Okay, at the last place, at least at most they were calling me stuck up.
Yep.
And it's like, stuck. I'm doing my job, okay?
You're such a snob, Adam.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix this printer. I didn't want to, gaggle at you. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's one of those things that when people get used to a certain level of attention, when someone deviates from that, it becomes I need to get them to give me that response, because it doesn't really make sense to them.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to learn today. And I made
And
it
it's not
clear
just
with
with people that are normally hit on that they have that reaction.
no.
I've seen that
Dude.
reaction from people that are used to people being intimidated by them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that
And-
too.
Like when I was working in the prison, happened constantly. Someone would be used to everyone acting like, oh my God, be careful, don't piss them off. And I would just be, okay, what do you want? What are we doing? Why are you doing this? Stop doing that. Just go back to your cell. And they would start getting kind of pissed off and trying to get me to act like everyone else and try to intimidate me. And I'm just, no, just stop. Why are you doing this? Go back to your cell. It's not going to work. Go back to your cell. I was just bored the entire fucking time, and it pissed them off until they started going, wait, why isn't he scared? Why isn't he reacting this way?
Mm-hmm.
And then they started to have an interesting reaction to seeing me.
I mean, I don't know. I can smell them. I can sniff it out a mile away. And from day one, I was like, yeah, I don't like this lady. And I even told her, I even was blunt about it. I was like, dude, I don't do innuendo jokes.
Innuendo jokes, yeah.
Like, I'm at work. I'm just trying to do my thing. Please,
Time and place and work is not it.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but
At least take me to dinner first. Make it a
Look,
good dinner.
hey, you know what? My dub wouldn't appreciate it. So
There you go.
I got
There
a
you
lady. Please step off. But no. So apparently that happened. So what was it? Thursday, I'm wearing my Ghostbusters shirt, and I go into. Oh no. Okay. So Wednesday, it's really awkward. It's like very clear that she's made the whole thing awkward. Nobody wants to talk to her because she had this loud break.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing these innuendo jokes this whole time, and then something triggered her. But then I guess Wednesday they canned her. Thursday I come into work and I'm wearing my Ghostbusters shirt. And our joke is when somebody gets fired, we put a little bag that I made ghost eyes or ghost face on,
Mhm.
and we put that on their seat. And it's like, oh, the ghost is working here.
Mhm.
We got a real ghost problem, So I wear my Ghostbusters shirt to work, and I go in, and the main boss starts cracking up. and he's talking to the warehouse manager, and the warehouse manager's like, "Are you seriously wearing that?" And I'm like,
what do you mean?
I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, quote a Peter Venkman thing or something like that. I'm like, yeah, you got to represent, the classics, man. And so I'm just walking in. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, do I have something on me? So I go in, and all of a sudden, everybody starts busting laughing. And the manager or my supervisor is like, "Are you serious?"
Busted. Busted makes me feel good.
The supervisor looks at me. He's like, "Holy shit, you're actually wearing that?" And I'm like, "What happened?" I'm like, "No, did somebody get fired?" And he's like, "Yeah, we had to let her go." I'm like, "Bro."
Nice.
And then the one tech who sits behind me, he's like, "Dude, I thought you were wearing that on purpose, like you knew when you were coming in." And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess you could say, the Lord told me to say, "Hey,
Yeah, right.
fuck it, I'll leave the shirt."
Fuck it, wear the shirt.
Just
Wear the
leave
shirt.
But yeah, no, that's fucking Ghostbusters. But yeah, the glowy just. Oh, she's a glowy because she started asking me about Skinwalker Ranch, and the ice walls, and just a bunch of other
Conspiracy
stuff. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I don't talk to anybody about any of this.
Yeah,
Why are you talking to me about
why
this?
the fuck are you talking to me about that?
Okay, I was wondering why she was the glowy.
Yeah.
And I was going like, is she just
And she always wore a
glowy because
baseball
she
cap.
was hitting
She always
on
wore a
him?
baseball
What?
cap.
Holy shit! Holy shit!
She was a fucking fed, dude.
She was. I say, man, she just didn't get around to asking you how many guns you own.
No, and dude, what was the other thing? Did I tell you about 13?
No.
Okay, so we're supposed to write a tag on our what we work on.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you fight souls again.
Oh, okay.
When we're working on a receipt, we're supposed to write a tag on the receipt to our tag to show that we worked on it. So if the people who are grading it have any questions, they know
To contact
who to ask.
what the
Yeah. So my number is 1213.
fuck?
And after, please don't, Steve Ray, I believe he's the actor who recently passed away. I may be getting his name wrong. Please forgive me. But he played, he recently was playing the bad guy in Ahsoka.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But I remember him, and he's been in a bunch of other things. He was in Thor. But I remember him from Titus Pullo from HBO Rome.
Okay.
And HBO Rome, Titus Pullo is part of the 13th Legion, with Varinus. It's in the show, it's Caesar's favorite legion, but actually Caesar's favorite legion was like the 11th, I believe. But there's a episode where Pullo goes to the Colosseum because he was caught murdering somebody, and to provoke him to fight, they kept calling out the 13th Legion. He's like, "Don't talk shit about 13th." And so he ends up fighting everybody. He's getting to the point where he's dying. Varinus is watching from the stadium, and he's like, "Fuck this." And he goes into the stadium. He's like, 13! And he grabs a sword, and he fights the guys off, and he saves Pullo. And so they become heroes of Rome. And when the actor died, the actor Varinus had a tweet out where he condolences and for the family. But he's like, you know what? We're brothers forever. 13th, and everybody was posting 13th. And so after that, since my number is 1213, when I was writing 1213, I just put 3 stripes underneath the 13th. And one day the glowy sat there, and she's like,
"Oh no!"
"Oh,
sorry."
Great. Oh, well, that's not fair. He's playing his.
Hey, it was a good fight. It was a good fight.
You look close. But ever since the actor passed away, they started doing that. And the glowy asked me, he's like, "Adam, I gotta ask you, what is this 13 stand? Why do you underscore it, write 3 slashes under?" And I'm like
she was looking for like a 1488 sort of like response.
That's one minus the 14 words.
Hold on. I I was like, you know what? If you can figure it out, I'll buy you lunch. And she goes, okay. And the first thing she says, she says some like Spanish name.
Oh, okay.
And she goes,
MS-13.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
like a gang for like Valencia or something like that. And she's like, it's a gang, isn't it? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, yes. The guy, look at my tattoos.
Yeah, right.
Look at my tattoos.
Yeah, totally a gang, right?
Oh man, Betty Page, a guitar, fucking the Triforce. I'm a gang member, orderly. and she, in all fairness, she wasn't like a white chick or anything. She was like, I think she said,
I'm gonna lose this.
oh, man.
Good one. Good fight.
See, I'm surprised that you didn't respond. Well, it is from another Latin language.
Well, no.
Oh.
I wasn't saying anything because then she started going in, like, is it your favorite number? Is it part of your birthday? Blah 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 blah. And I'm just laughing. Like, you're never gonna understand that it's HBO Rome 13th. But the thing that I was also chuckling at is if she really wanted to take an educated guess. If at my desk I have a statue of Popeye, a little like foam sticker statue of Popeye, and my American flag. Not my American flag, but a little American flag.
Sure.
13.
13.
Yeah, 13 original colonies. Yeah.
And I'm constantly, yes, sir. I'm constantly talking about America, constantly talking about Civil War, constantly talking about politics. Like, if you do get me to talk, I'm talking about that. 13 original colonies.
There you go.
Yep.
She couldn't get it. Glowy. Fucking glowy,
Fucking
dude.
glowy. She never got a chance to ask you how many guns you own.
She was getting there.
She was getting there. She was working her way up to it.
See, I was figuring that she was going to say something just completely out of left field, like, oh, you're talking about the 13th apostle?
Whoa. Well, that's the other thing. I'm surprised she hasn't, because I do leave a lot of scriptures around.
Scripture, yeah.
Because I'll be listening to things and I'll write, oh, okay, Romans, blah 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 blah. Oh, okay, da, 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 da. And I forget them, and they're just floating around.
Sure.
Because, yeah, that's another quote-unquote conspiracy theory that there were 13 apostles.
Well, and the feds were also going after religious fanatics.
Yeah.
So shit. You listen to that Bible?
Them Bibles.
Yeah, but so that's what's my going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's why we call her the glowy.
The glowy.
That just reminded me of something else that was a what the fuck recently. And kind of in the similar vein of, okay, these are bad actors, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know the Richmond, North of Richmond song, right?
Oh, you're talking about the all the people that are like going after the dude, and it's like he's just like a dude.
Yeah.
So you have people on the far left, shall we say,
Yeah.
that are going after him and saying he's not a real steel worker. Turns out the guy was a steel worker for decades until he crippled himself, and then he went to office work and then went to a construction company, which is what he's doing now. He's office work at a construction company.
I'll try and get him on sometime.
And they were going after him for that. And then, did you hear about what the identitarians on the white supremacist side are going after him for?
No.
He, in a markedly less articulate fashion, I will grant that, ended up damn near making the argument that Teddy Roosevelt did in the hyphenated American speech.
Okay.
Because he said that...
Oh, the melting pot thing?
Yep, America's a melting pot.
Okay. Yeah.
That's when America's at its best, when we're able to get different ideas to come in and we pick the best of them and we go with that.
Yeah.
That's effectively what he was saying. And it doesn't matter where someone's from, as long as they
want to be an American.
Truly want to be an American,
yes,
and they go through the proper method, they're an American.
Yes.
But here's the thing, and here's the onion. here's Skep Talk brought up something that kind of has been itching in the back of my mind for a bit, and I guess it's only because I've been doing a lot of reading or more listening to book stuff. Damn it! If you're listening, Souls, good job, man. You're fucking kicking ass. Reading a lot of Civil War stuff, but I also like the idea of the individual sovereignty of the states.
Yeah.
Now, I don't like the idea of, oh yeah, well we could just go ahead and split off, but at the same end, I do like the fact that we're individual enough that.
Well,
I mean,
50 different laboratories.
Yeah, my whole thing about the states' rights and all that other kind of stuff that I keep on going about is that the biggest casualty from the Civil War was states' rights.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that is because, thinking about it from the original America's perspective is that you look at the federal government for like laws.
When big shit happens, then
Yeah,
you come together.
that you come together for.
Yep.
But everything else should stay at a community level. And then if it gets, a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. So then, when it comes to the bigger, shit other than community level, it should go to the state.
Mhm.
And then only things that affect the country should it go to the federal level.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the Civil War kind of killed that because the South wanted, to secede from the Union.
Yeah.
And as a stopgap to change that, the federal government had to make those changes post Civil War to keep the country together.
Yeah.
And
I
I
would
don't think
argue
I think that's the
for a
biggest casualty
slightly-
from it.
I would argue for a slightly different time frame, but I would agree with your point. The time frame that I would argue for is the
Reconstruction.
I believe it was a local Democrat Party contingency that they completely rigged the election for their person for the Senate,
Mhm.
and that then caused the restructuring of how Senate voting was done.
Oh,
Because it used to be that the Senate was named or voted on and named by the state legislatures.
Mhm.
And it was a particular contingent of the Democratic Party, if I remember correctly, that they did really shady shit, because the way that it would work was you would have your in-party nominations, and then you would have the legislature pick between the in-party nominations, and they did really shady in-party nominations, which then caused a complete fuck this, we're getting rid of it, and we're going to direct election, which was a massive issue in my opinion, because as long as the senator was a function of your local representation, you had a massive reason to vote for your local rep. Once that got separated out, people viewed it as more important to vote in federal rather than the local.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I agree with the overarching point. I would say that the death knell for it, though, was later on during that event.
Well, you know what I'm gonna say, right?
Quite possibly, but go ahead.
Rigging elections. Oh, almost like Bobby Blagojevich did. Saying.
I was just watching a thing on bleeding Kansas, and one can say the border wars between Kansas and Missouri saw a lot of election rigging.
Yep.
But I mean, again, the problem has not been solved even back then.
Mhm.
We are it's just a constant. You know what? Okay, we're tired. Let's get on with our shit,
Yeah.
and then we'll deal with it another day.
And it never gets dealt with.
And they forget about what they're dealing with altogether.
I mean, shit, I've brought it up countless times. The Battle of Athens. You guys know the story of the Battle of Athens, right?
Mhm.
You're talking about the town that
Yes.
yeah, that took over the because they were electing. But dude, that reminds me of Walking Tall was based on a
Similar thing, yeah.
similar thing. Yeah.
Yep.
It fucking happens, dude. It was the mafia was doing this shit in the fucking 30s during Prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Did people forget? Yes, they did, because you know what? I just want to go and eat my SpaghettiOs and continue my. All right. Well, you know.
Italians, SpaghettiOs. I get it.
Goddamn ties.
Fucking Italians.
I didn't even think about it. That was
You know what? I 100% agree with the mayor of New Orleans. Or no, not the mayor of New Orleans. Sorry, the police chief of New Orleans, when he got shot in front of his house, and just in his dying breaths was just willing to stir the pot up to an incredible anti-Italian sentiment, where 13 innocent Italians were hung in the middle of the streets of New Orleans. Where when he got shot and said the Dagos did it.
Yep.
It was back in 1900.
That makes sense.
That was I'm trying to remember what the name of the event was, because it has a very specific name.
It's funny, actually. I built an idea about an entire D&D campaign around that idea.
And wasn't that also right before or right after the New Orleans axe murder?
I think it was during, actually.
Because that's also a wild story.
Oh yeah. I say
how it fucking ends. For those who don't know, the New Orleans axe murders was a serial killer was going around murdering, I believe it was Italians and black people in Nolans with an axe, horrendously brutal murders. And then it just disappeared. He started taunting newspapers and the police as he's going about doing this. And at the end, he ended up saying that he's going to go around and he's going to pick his victim that night. The only way to ensure that you will not be his victim, if you're an Italian or black person, is if you were playing jazz music. Because fucking love jazz music.
Yeah.
So for that night, every household played jazz music.
I think there's minutia that you're getting wrong. I don't think that he killed any black people. It was purely just Italians. But yeah, there was
Italians and black.
No, there was this massive anti-Italian sentiment in New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
you want
massive? Huh? No, I'm good for now. But yeah, no, like, let's put it this way, dude. I've been looking into New Orleans history like this for a long time because I want to run a Mask of the Red Death campaign. Now, Adam, I know you're just getting your feet, still just dabbing your feet in the D&D a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
Wrap this on for size. Okay, wrap this around your mind. Originally from Chicago. Okay, this is D&D, by the way.
Oh, and you are right, Inquisitor. I did get it wrong. It was just Italian immigrants and Italian or people of Italian descent in America. Yep. The thing that I got the black people from was the primary suspects of the
you were all black people. Yes.
Axemen of New Orleans were all the blacks and the
I believe there were Haitians too. Was their main suspects were Haitians.
Yeah, it was Haitians, mulattoes, and blacks within Louisiana due to how he was speaking in his letters.
Yes, the nomenclature or the not nomenclature. Oh fuck, his mannerisms of speech. Yeah.
Yeah, his diction in the letters.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so here, right? This is an idea for you, right? D&D, but you're playing a character, whatever you want to play as, who's tied to law enforcement of some kind. If federal, even better. Okay.
Dibs on the pinks.
You could be Pinkertons, yes, because they were still around at this time. But you're investigating a bombing in Chicago that was tied to the labor riots, but you will eventually find a story hook that leads you on a riverboat down to New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And this is during that crisis.
Nice.
But it's all tied to voodoo.
Oh,
Very nice. Like I said, dibs on the pinks.
Here, hold on 1 second. I want to show you something, Adam. Okay. And remember, this is D&D, so it's role playing like you're normally role playing, right? But do you get the reference? Mask of the Red Death. It's an Edgar Allan Poe poem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's D&D Gothic horror in 1900s, the real world 1900s.
Yeah, in the 1910s.
Yeah. So that's the whole idea I've got, is that it's going to be like a period piece, psychological horror, dealing with voodoo in New Orleans in the 1900s.
and you're gonna try and run a.
I want to run a campaign of it. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be right up your alley, too.
I mean, I don't know if I'd play it. I don't know if I'm skilled enough to play it, but I think it'd be fun to watch.
I'll say, well, I'll tell you this much, man. In terms of like the kinds of people that would want to have play it, you'd be like top of the list because you're into that time period. Civil War, post-Civil War, Reconstruction era, America. That's
right between the two world wars.
Mm-hmm. No, it's before World War I. 1900.
The murder. Let me quickly double check. The
1910.
murders were then, and it was.
When are we gonna get a
Oh,
nice?
yeah, it was right before.
Yeah, I was gonna say 1903, wasn't it?
When are we gonna get a good?
Yeah, I was
7
thinking that
years
the
for-
murders were 1919 to like
Kind of make a
19
joke, but it didn't
or
work.
1918 to 1919. But yeah, they were
7 years.
1910 to 1911.
I'm gonna try this half gummy.
Go for it. Is there Jake here?
But yeah, I found it fucking ridiculous that people are getting pissed off at the dude because people on the far left are saying he's not a real steelworker. He was. He got crippled. And he got a different job because he got crippled.
I saw some people on the right that were fucking off too, and it got brought up on Pipkin Pippa's stream. Because Pippa viewed it and she had pretty much the same take as both of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was someone in the chat and they're saying like, he said that Biden is like an American hero. What
the fuck?
And she she went and looked up like the dude's name, like Anthony Edwards, whatever his name is, and looked it up and said just anything Biden on Google, nothing came up.
Yep. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, and because there's people that are saying that he's a fag because he
People are saying he's a glowy. Yeah.
That
it's fucked up, man. Because the dude just seems like a genuinely nice dude.
Yeah, he's just a salt of the earth kind of fuck, and nothing.
He turned down an $8 million contract too.
Yep, and like I said, when it came to what he said, it's Oliver Anthony was the guy.
Oliver Anthony, that's his name. Yep.
But yeah, when it came down to it, like I said, the thing that people are going after him, saying he's a glowy for, and that he's clearly just being placed in order to attract people, I'm going, that's straight up just a less articulate version of hyphenated American.
Mm-hmm.
And hell yeah, hyphenated Americans should be how we do things.
Mm-hmm.
I've said it many times before. It is, I think, to the shame of the United States that somehow Teddy Roosevelt lost the argument when it came to the hyphenated American.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost the argument to fuckheads that voted for goddamn Woodrow motherfucking Wilson. The man is so racist that he removed black people entirely from U.S. history. He wrote an early history of the United States that completely removed Frederick motherfucking Douglass.
Dude, I've gone so our tinfoil hat. I think that was rigged as well. That
Okay.
election was rigged.
Oh. The main theory behind it's just that it ended up splitting the vote between Taft and Teddy.
Yeah. Why did Taft is Pence? Fuck you.
I think it's funny that if you go to any like trivia that has anything to do with the presidents, and if it's not readily apparent of what president the question is about, it's always Taft.
Nice. Taft didn't have a bad presidency. He just didn't have an amazing presidency.
And it's the fact
miserable.
that it's the fact that like Taft did a whole bunch of like important shit.
Yeah.
But
The problem is he was coming right on the heels of Teddy Roosevelt. So how the fuck are you going to look impressive when everyone's thinking, you know, a few years ago we had Teddy Roosevelt.
and it's not, you know, he wasn't in a world war. You know, he didn't get assassinated.
And like I said, he was miserable. Taft hated being president.
As all politicians should, by the way. They should hate their job because it shouldn't be a job. It should be civil service.
Yes.
Yeah, they
It should be
should.
something that they're like,
They should view it as a responsibility.
Yes.
And I would say rather than they should hate their job, they should hate the honors and responsibilities of it.
Yeah. The pressures of it.
The pressures of it, but they can enjoy various parts of it. Like Teddy Roosevelt clearly had a fucking blast for certain elements of it. And I don't think Teddy Roosevelt was a bad president. In fact, to my mind, he's probably one of the best presidents that the U.S. has had.
yeah, I agree with that.
He had his mistakes. He had his fuck-ups. A lot of those were more he put something in place and then people expanded it to a point where he was going, what the fuck?
Yeah, wasn't Teddy Roosevelt the one who instated the
National parks.
national parks? Yeah.
Yep.
But he set it up so that it was meant to be much smaller than it ended up growing to become.
Yeah. That's the
And
major problem is that it's been used for some really nefarious shit.
Yep.
Whole
He
federal
limited their power drastically. He had set areas that were mostly areas that weren't really habitable, or rather easily habitable.
Yeah.
So it was extremely mountainous terrain. He named national parks. Extremely dense woods in certain areas he named national parks, but he kept it fairly small, and he didn't have any the government will claim this land from people.
Yeah, I would say that's the major problem I've got. Like Yellowstone, all these like national parks, even like national parks when they prop up nowadays, I'm perfectly fine with some of them. It's just like it was used for some really bad shit, and namely, it was used to snake land out from legitimate owners of property in the United States. It was used to kick people off of the land that they paid for, all because of some bullshit conservationist, crap. And that's totally outside of the purview of the original intent of making national parks. So it's infuriating that kind of stuff is attributed to the national park system, because it really shouldn't.
Do you know who expanded the national park system to do that shit?
Huh.
I'll give you one guess.
Who is it?
Same motherfucker who ended
Woodrow Wilson?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have this burning hatred for Woodrow Wilson, and you know what? I think it is pretty justified, but at the same time,
there's two presidents that I absolutely hate when I look at two presidents that I absolutely hate.
Please say Johnson.
Three presidents a third president that is extremely close. Because fuck Johnson, but it's not quite to the same level of hatred that I have for Wilson and the lesser Roosevelt.
Yeah. And you see,
because the lesser Roosevelt, the only reason that he isn't recognized as the totalitarian dickhead that he should be is because of the competition that he had at the time. It's hard to be recognized as a totalitarian dickhead when you're dealing with Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin.
That's true. I mean, see, that's the thing is, like, I see a lot of people, having hatred for Lincoln because of the suspension of habeas corpus during the Civil War and all sorts of stuff like that. I'm like, you have to understand some very important things, right? America was in an incredibly turbulent period, and those kinds of things were unfortunately necessary for holding the Union together. It was done in a bad way, in my opinion. Yeah, sure, you can levy some criticism at Lincoln on that, but what's done was done for the preservation of the Union. And that's not a bad thing in my estimation.
dude, again, ultimately, like we were saying earlier, it's, hey, we want to be able to all collectively come together and work together.
Yeah.
When the South was talking about seceding, the way I look at it, I mean, at least from what I've been understanding on it, it would have been more of a parasite type of existence. You wanted to be a nation, but you wanted to utilize us and for your own financial gain.
Sure.
And it just seems to me like it just wouldn't make sense if we were all working together and then all of a sudden I'm so confused. Look, I'm willing to say it's still muggy on my waters to fully understand it, but I can still see it that it's not just these people wanted slaves, these people didn't.
Yeah,
it's
there's a lot of factors involved in this,
and it's been going on since the inception of this nation.
Yes,
and
So there's something that I want to touch on immediately after this, but also we're at a point in the conversation that it is too good not to go into the thing that gave this stream its title. So do you guys want to see the article that I found? First, I'll show its current title, then I'll show its original title. That made me title this Memoryholes and Revisions Needed.
Yeah, actually, you were saying that before we went live. Yeah, sure. I wanna know what all of this was about.
So here's the current title of the article. The worst people run for office. It's time for a better way. Do you guys want to see what the original title was?
Sure.
Elections are bad for democracy.
What?
Elections are bad for democracy by Adam Grant. And just to make sure that I'm not doing anything fishy, by Adam Grant. On the eve of the first debate. Everyone on board that this is the same fucking article?
That's well, we can't see it because Adam's oh, sorry, hold on. There we go.
Yeah, I did the way back for this one because, like I said, they originally published it with this title, and they realized how bad this was.
I was gonna say, what the fuck does that even mean?
Hey, just notice also blue and yellow.
Yeah.
Well,
that could have been white.
Yeah.
But it's blue and yellow. Ukraine.
Yep.
Go fuck yourselves, dude. Oh, but you can speak. Shut up.
Well, I mean, I said this on Twitter a while ago too, when fucking David Hogg said something, and our good buddy Simius of Thebes responded to him. Like David Hogg said something about like laws, blah, democracy. I'm like, you do realize that America isn't a democracy, right?
Yep.
We're a constitutional republic.
Constitutional
voting
republic
fucking matters.
with a democratic aspect. We're a democratic constitutional republic.
Well, what it is that we're a representative democracy is what it is. But in terms of like what the actual government is it is a democratic or is a constitutional republic because the republic part of it is electing a representative to represent you in federal matters.
Well, technically, for a representative government, you don't always need to have an election, which is where the democratic part of the government comes from, because we are democratically
But you have to remember, we are
representatives.
at the higher ends, we are dealing with a lot of people who utilize language for their own benefit, and that's where I don't want to ring up. I'm sorry.
That's exactly what this guy is doing, because effectively his argument is, in order to preserve democracy, we need to get rid of this democratic aspect.
We need to get rid of what? Representatives?
Well,
No. We're going to keep the representatives. We're going to have them done in a way that is not through democratic elections. Here, let me read this absolutely beautiful article, which, by the way, again, this is from a paper that has numerous times published how the Republicans, Trump, and various other groups that aren't kowtowing to the Democrats are a existential threat to democracy. And then they have the unmitigated audacity to publish the article. Let me go back to its original title. Elections are bad for democracy. The thing that makes something a democracy is bad for democracy.
Yeah.
So, on the eve of the first debate of the 2024 presidential race, trust in government is rivaling historic lows. Officials have been working hard to safeguard elections and assure citizens of their integrity. But if we want public office to have integrity, we might be better off eliminating elections altogether. Again, in order to save democracy, let's get rid of the thing that makes it a democracy. You might think that sounds anti-democratic. No shit, because if you get
it is.
You're getting rid of democracy. Think again. The ancient Greeks invented democracy, and in Athens, many government officials were selected through sortition. I always have trouble with that word. Sortition. A random lottery from a pool of candidates. Yes, many, not all, which getting rid of fucking elections is getting rid of all. You aren't just advocating that, well, maybe we should have certain government positions that aren't elected, which, by the way, we already fucking do.
Yep. You don't.
Democracy is.
And say, yeah, you don't vote for your individual police officers. You don't vote for IRS agents. You don't vote for CIA agents. You don't vote for.
Yep. If we did the same with mayors, governors, legislatures, justices, and even presidents. So what if we did the same with every single elected official? You wouldn't have a democracy.
No.
Because you just got rid of the democracy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of
for every single elected position.
That's kind of in line of mob mentality.
Well, yeah, I've been saying for the longest time, man. I said it on the last time I was on Sanguine show. I'll say it again. I'll keep repeating it until it's drummed into everyone's head. Social justice is not social nor justice. Yep. It is mob mentality revenge.
Yep. People expect leaders chosen at random to be less effective than those picked systematically. But in multiple experiments led by the psychologist Alexander Haslam, the opposite held true. Groups actually made smarter decisions when leaders were chosen at random than when they were elected by a group or chosen based on leadership skill. Okay, there's actually an interesting bit of weaseling done in that sentence. Did anyone else catch it?
I say it said that people did better if they were randomly selected as a leader rather than
groups actually made smarter decisions when leaders were chosen at random than when they were elected by a group of or chosen based on leadership skill.
But the
What
group,
is the weasel component?
I was gonna say the group isn't the people that are making the laws. It's the leader that's making the laws at that point.
Yes. So what they said is that when people cannot trust their leadership, they show less trust for their leadership and they make their own decisions.
Yes.
But they're saying this as if that means that the leaders make better decisions. They don't realize what the fuck they said in that sentence.
Yep.
Why were randomly chosen leaders more effective? Again, that's reframing what they said the result was, where they said the result was that groups made better decisions.
Become Shao Kahn.
And now they're saying, why were the randomly chosen leaders more effective? Well, they weren't. The group was making its own decisions. And when you have people making decisions for shit that affects them, individuals have more knowledge over what affects them than anyone else. So
I got a question. What's the name of this author?
the name of this author, like I said earlier, was Adam Grant, or as it was revised to... Oh, no, it still has Adam Grant, I was thinking. And it still did have Dr. Adam Grant as the name. I thought one of them had Dr. Adam Grant without the other having that. But yes, it is Dr. Adam Grant, a contributing opinion writer, is an organizational psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, the author of Think Again, and host of the TED podcast, Rethinking. So, like I said, he changed the framing between those two sentences. They led more democratically. Well, yes, when the leader doesn't actually have power and people aren't deferring their leadership or deferring the decision making to the leader, it ends up being the leader going, well, what do you guys think? Because they know if they do something that everyone is against, they're going to be thrown out on their ass. And someone else will be selected. Systematically selected leaders can undermine group goals, Dr. Haslam and his colleagues suggest, because they have a tendency to assert their personal superiority. When you're appointed by the group, it can quickly go to your head. I'm the chosen one.
Okay, so I'm looking at his bibliography here because he's written 4 books. Okay, and one of the books is Originals: How Nonconformists Move the World. This is just a gigantic fucking pitch for his book, dude.
Yep. Oh, I absolutely know. That's what most of this shit is. But at the same, like I said, the thing that drives me crazy is how many articles have they pumped out accusing this group or that group of being a threat to democracy. And then, need I remind you of the original title, Elections Are Bad for Democracy.
It's just a bunch of puff words. Dude, like, seriously, I'm reading a lot of his stuff. He became a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, youngest tenured professor at age 28.
That's not a good sign.
I was gonna say that's not a good sign. He's a professional at mincing a lot of words and saying nothing.
Yep.
Like he's
those people out there.
He's just an exemplar of the failure of a lot of academia.
But that just sounds like a lot of the fucking YouTubers that are out there.
That's very true too. It's just the YouTubers aren't as educated.
Well, and may not have the degree.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just gonna say the YouTubers aren't as educated because they didn't go through 12 years of just bullshitting out papers that are like having these massive thesis statements that say nothing.
I'm going to say something rather annoying for me to say.
Oh no.
Only some of them aren't as highly educated, and I think that's part of the problem. Because there's certain ideas that end up propagating in higher levels of education because we've been undermining education for fucking
for way too long. Yes, that's true.
I mean, there's an argument that I just had on Twitter not long ago. I know, arguing on Twitter. Smart.
Yeah.
But it was because I saw someone making such a ridiculous claim that I had to point out how fucking ridiculous it was. Their claim was that the reason why various companies do not make their coding publicly available for, they were talking particularly voting machines, but this was something that they were trying to apply to everything, was because copyright laws so strongly protect their code. So let me say that again. The reason why companies don't publish their code is because copyright laws so strongly protect their code that if anyone cribs their code, tries to modify their code, or take their code without paying them in any way, shape, or form, that person will be liable to be sued. That's the reason why companies don't publish their code. You guys realize with me, right, that without that sort of protection, the chance of a company publishing their code would be fucking zero. Because if they published their code and they weren't able to sue people that stole their code, that cribbed their code, that modified their code, but not enough to make it their own, that they wouldn't be able to sue them. So that would just be giving anyone that wanted to compete with them a leg up because they spent all this time making this code and now a competitor is able to just crib that code, pump it out, and go, yep, I have a new business. They don't have to pay for the R&D. They don't have to pay for shit other than running it. So companies would not ever publish their code if it weren't for protections.
Yeah.
But they were saying that the protections was what was making them hide their code, completely ignoring the fact that the reason why election software is not publicly available is it is much harder to crack a code that you don't even fucking see than it is to crack a code that's right in front of you spelled out. In the former, you have to spend a lot of work to first make the code visible. Then you have to spend a lot of work in order to figure out where the loophole is. And then you can actually deal with breaking the code.
Yeah.
In the latter case, that first chunk is done, you're just devoted to figuring out how to break the code. That's the reason why election software isn't made widely available. That's the reason why multiplayer games tend to have their coding come out much, much, much later, if it ever does. Whereas single-player games tend to go, oh, sure, you want the code? You want to be able to modify Skyrim? Here's the fucking way that you modify Skyrim. Have at it. Because it doesn't have the ability to be broken in the same way. When it's a single-player experience, all you're able to do is fuck with your own shit.
Yeah. I think the major thing for those kinds of things, too, is that, like, even ones where you can, crack it on a single, end user,
Yep.
They don't want to do that because it also opens the door for piracy.
Yep. So,
they don't like pirates.
But the thing is that when piracy happens, with copyright protections, they're able to then go after the pirate and go, fuck you, that's ours. And sue the ever-living shit out of the pirate. And also sue people that got the pirated material. That's all possible due to copyright law, which, again, is one of the reasons why people are able to publish software code when they come out with a new game and they want to make it easy for modders. They give you that information so that you can modify the game to your heart's content. And like I said, this happens much more with single-player games. It is very rare with multiplayer games.
Never experienced playing this game.
Almost fucking unheard of with anything that requires open source security. Open circle security. Open circuit security. That's the term that I'm looking for.
There you go.
Open circuit security. Where it's something that can be attacked from the outside. They don't publish their code because that's just asking for someone to break your shit.
Yeah, it's asking for intrusion. Yeah.
Yep. Whereas if you have what I would say is the best way of dealing with this so that all parties are happy when it comes to election software, make the system completely closed circuit. It cannot communicate with a fucking thing outside of the system.
Yeah.
And
It should be like that.
publish the code. Because as long as your system cannot communicate with a fucking thing outside of the system,
Mm-hmm.
you can publish the code, and that security threat isn't really there.
Yeah. There's no reason for any election software, if that's the way that we want to go. There's no reason for it to ever be have access to the internet. There's no reason.
It should never be open circuit. We have some that is. It should, if it is closed circuit, which all of it should be, then it is possible to publish the software and allow people to look at the software and go, oh yeah, everything's above board on this.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's an issue, some autist will be combing through the code and they'll go, hold on page 347, you're missing a comma. And that breaks this line of code. And you would have that person find a problem in the software.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't be able to hack the software because there's no means of accessing it in order to get any sort of bug into the system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way that you go about it. You make it a closed loop system and you have it open source for criticism when it comes to the software. The problem is that isn't the way that we have it. And the biggest problem was the person that made the argument that the copyright laws is why companies hide their code, despite that being the only reason why companies would ever publish their code is if it's protected by copyright law. Mm-hmm. This person was a fucking PhD candidate. This is the type of argument that can only be made by someone that is overeducated.
Yeah. Well, it really just comes down to, in my opinion, the fact that they think they know more than they do, and they're speaking on with authority because they are a PhD student without like that being their main purview of study.
Well, actually, part of their field of study was this sort of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just that they didn't actually learn fucking anything that they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Because they failed on... Oh, also, the thing that really pissed me off after this, after I laid out that explanation of you're blaming the thing that actually makes it possible to have it open source, if you want to give an argument for why it isn't open source,
mm-hmm.
then you should be talking about the security element. And that was what I originally said. It was, here's the reason why your argument's dumb. Here's a better argument if you want to continue arguing for what you're trying to argue for. It wasn't even going after them and saying, you shouldn't be arguing for what you're arguing for. It was, here's a better argument for what you're arguing. After I did that, they responded to me saying, but I wasn't saying that it should be open source. No shit, jackass. That's the reason why I attacked your explanation for why you said it wasn't open source, and then gave you a valid explanation for why it wasn't open source, saying, hey, here's the way that you argue for the shit that you're trying to argue for in the future. But the dumb bastard didn't understand that. So not only did they fail on the material that they were supposed to know, not only did they fail on the logic that they should have been able to diagnose if they were properly educated, but they failed on motherfucking reading comprehension.
I'll say that's the thing, is like when you find people that, you know, legit say this kind of stuff on Twitter, it's already bad enough. But the problem that I've got with Twitter is the fact that at the same time you've got these people saying that kind of stuff, you have the people doing obvious fucking trope poll or pose and stuff like that, and it's just I'm far too jaded at this point to interact with any of them. I think all of them are stupid, even if you're just pretending to be retarded. So I'm done with interacting with all those kinds of people on Twitter.
There's a point to being a Poe, but there's a limited utility. And if you're doing it outside of that limited utility, then yeah, it is as dumb as if you're advocating for it in earnest. I can see it when it's done much the same way. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Adam is playing a
sorry.
fight against
the game.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can see the utility of playing the Poe when it's something that is done as a mechanism of the normal debate rhetoric of, okay, let's assume that everything you just said was right. Let's take that and go to its natural result. And you just build on the logic of it. I can understand Poe when it's done to that extent. But a lot of it isn't done in that fashion. Which is where it goes to be, yeah, are you stupid or are you just pretending to be stupid? Either way, you still seem like an idiot.
Well, that's just gotten where I've gotten to with all of this shit, is just, you know, whenever it comes down to it, I don't even give it the benefit of the doubt anymore. I just say, if you're saying something stupid, you're saying something stupid. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, trying to be clever and you're saying something stupid, you just said something stupid.
Yeah, like I said, for me, it still has that, does it have that element of utility almost? But it's not quite utility that I'm getting at. It's, does it have a reason to be done? Is there a logic behind it other than just, haha, stupid shit?
Again, that's my whole problem with it, is that, like, that's what I encounter, is just haha stupid shit.
Yeah.
That's all.
Like I said, a lot of it is haha stupid shit.
I'm done with that.
But yeah, it annoys the piss out of me that this keeps on happening, that these fucking sorts of arguments keep on coming out, and people will just look at whatever letters someone has next to their name, whether it's they're looking for the proper political signifier, or whether they're looking for a PhD, MS, MA, whatever the fuck sort of degree.
And it's all just for confirmation bias too. Look at this smart person; he agrees with me. Yeah.
Confirmation bias, and really what it boils down to is it's an argument from authority every fucking time.
Yeah.
And I hate the argument from authority. Like I said, one of my I told this story I don't know how many times, but it's one of my favorite stories from all of science. It is the argument, or is the story of the Fisher F test versus the student T test. So Fisher was a ridiculously famous, well-known statistician. And he came up with his own statistical analysis that he called the F test because Fisher was extraordinarily vain. And the reason why he called it the F test was he wanted it to be known as the Fisher test.
Mhm.
So F for Fisher. So another man who was not known in the world of stats. He had absolutely no recognition to his own name, let alone the fact that when he ended up publishing his paper, he published it just under the name student because he didn't give a shit about getting credit. In fact, he was hoping that he wouldn't get credit because he thought he would get in trouble for it.
Mm.
And it was just someone who was a bit of a stats nerd. He had perhaps the best job on earth. He was the Guinness quality control tester. And
As in Guinness, as in the beer.
As in the beer.
Yeah.
And what he would do is
Quality
he would run-
control is they test it, right?
Yes, he drinks it. Yes.
Well, he would do a series of experiments, and then he would drink a portion of every single batch of Guinness
Mm-hmm.
that came off the line. So he would get, like, let's say 30 bottles, and then he would run all his tests on those 30 bottles, and then he would drink from each of those 30 bottles. He was paid to drink on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
This is a fantastic fucking job. But originally, he started looking into the F test because he was wondering if he was able to do the F test on the bottles, would that allow him to test fewer bottles, making it so that the company was more
Efficient.
efficient, and it was able to have a higher profit. Because at the way it was done, he had to have several bottles drawn off of every single batch of Guinness.
Yeah.
So he was looking to cut the number of bottles by like half, if not more. So he started dicking around with the F test. And he dicked around with the F test so much that he realized that the F test had a fatal flaw. It fell apart with low sample sizes. And much lower sample sizes than Fisher was saying that it would fall apart with. So he then started coming up with his own test in response to this and kept on dicking around. Again, this is all while he's on the job, while he's getting paid to drink and test beer. He's been dicking around with stats for months and months and months on end until eventually he comes up with oh shit, this will actually work. And then he looks at how much time he's spent devising this new statistical test. And he goes, oh God, I've spent the better part of a year when I was being paid to test beer and drink. And while I was doing this test, I wasn't testing the beer in the way that I should have been. I was still getting everything done, but I should have been doing a fuck ton more. But I wasn't because I was dicking around. So he was worried that if he published his results under his own name, that Guinness would realize, wait a second, what have you been doing for the past year and a half? So what he did was he wanted the paper to be published so that other statisticians and other people in a similar field could use the statistical analysis that he had developed. And he came up with the idea of he would publish it under a nom de plume. and his nom de plume would be student, which to his mind stood for a student of statistics, which is about the most humble fucking name that you could publish a statistical paper under.
Mm-hmm.
So he published this in the paper, directly calling out Fisher's test. Well, he had all the respect in the world for Fisher. He didn't insult Fisher. He said that there was a fatal flaw in Fisher's statistical analysis. He explained this. He then laid out his own analysis, provided all the data that he had collected in order to demonstrate his analyses superiority to the F test. And he called it the T test. So he published this, and the statistical world saw this paper. And they had a choice, a critical choice to make. On one side, you had Fisher, who had decades of published statistical papers, who everyone at the time knew who Fisher was, knew the quality of work Fisher did. His papers had been tested time and time again, and they had been successful. And you have a motherfucker that you don't even know the name of saying Fisher is wrong. So what do you do? And they made a choice. They made the right choice. They made the choice that you should make any time when you're dealing with any sort of scientific endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
They went, he's talking a lot of shit. Let's see if it works.
Test it. Yeah, test it.
So they ran Fisher's F test through the experiments that were outlined in the student paper to see if it was a failure of the F test. Because it might well have been that this nameless fuck had just been publishing something that, or had been calculating everything entirely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he thought that the F test was broken. It could be that the F test is working perfectly. Just some jackass doesn't know what the fuck they're saying.
Yeah.
So they looked into it. And the F test failed in the exact way that student said it failed. So they went, okay, that's giving credit to student. Now, the more important part. Let's run student's statistical test through the entire thing as well and see if it gives the more accurate answer. So they did that, and it did. The result was damn near everyone at the time unanimously switched to the T test over the F test. Because it was right. That is the beauty of science when it's done correctly. Science only works when it is a begrudging consensus, and what I mean by a begrudging consensus is when a scientific paper comes out, every other motherfucker in that field should be looking at that paper and going, I want to prove this son of a bitch wrong.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole idea behind it, is the fact that you it only becomes better than a hypothesis if it is tested, rigorously tested, and it is accurate every time.
Yep. And we've had, unfortunately, a massive bit of damage done to various scientific fields, some fields worse than others, where that desire to disprove the paper, and by disprove I mean to demonstrate that the paper was
inaccurate or false,
or faulty in some manner, has been massively eroded to the point where we have papers that are foundational papers of fields of study, where they said that they determined something was 100% the case, and that it was beneficial to do a certain practice, despite their paper having a 100% suicidality. Which, last I checked, you can't have something be beneficial and have 100% suicidality. That might just be me. That might just be craziness from me. But we have shit like that.
I believe in all craziness, dude. I will say, dude, I have to accept the craziness. Otherwise, certain things won't be going on. So, yeah, there is craziness. Maybe not your craziness. Dude, let it set for a bit.
A massive gun.
Yeah, but it's gonna fall apart.
I know. No, well, it's the glue set for now, I think. This arm, yeah, that arm's fine. The major thing is the fact that
This is
it's
standing. Yeah.
it's standing. I'll let the glue harden. I'm building my turbogon. He's nearly done.
Nice.
I'm just showing Adam the fact that he barely fits on his base, and then he has this massive fucking gun that sits off of it.
And then what do you
Nice.
add the cannons on there?
No, this is the cannon.
But yeah, if you see
The launcher
those
cannon.
rotary or high las rotaries where you are,
Whoa,
Let me know,
dude!
send you the
Hey,
money.
hold on. Let's just breaking news report. Yeah, and he kicked.
He did.
Quiz was just about to sit on.
Oh no, I
Jacob.
wasn't. I was
Look at
pushing his leg back.
Say, look,
What?
this is my spot.
And he's looking all indignant, going like, "Why are you moving me? Huh? Why are you moving me?"
Sorry, Jacob.
He's a good boy.
Yes, you're a part of the stream.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Hey, speak. Speak. Come on, speak. Speak. I'll go and get you a treat. Speak. Hey, speak. Speak. Can I get more than just a sniffle? Speak. 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 Tell me. What is it? Come on, let the people hear you, Jake. Come on, speak. Speak.
Jake, the people want to hear you.
People need to hear what you have to say. Here, come on. Boop. Hey, speak.
Being strangely silent.
Hey, speak. Hey, what are you doing?
Well, he rolled over.
All right.
That's good.
I'll give you pets.
That was a very dramatic roll.
That was a very dramatic rollover. He's all like, no, I don't want it. You are adorable.
I love you.
Good boy.
But that was the main topic that I had for tonight, just because, good fucking God, how the hell do you write an article saying, in order to save democracy, we need to get rid of this democracy bullshit?
Well, it's even funnier because of, like, he immediately had to backtrack. You know?
Well, the thing was, he tried, but failed miserably. Because his attempted backtrack was, now this, getting rid of all the democracy in something might sound like it's anti-democratic. That's not really backtracking, that's trying to bullshit someone into going, well, okay, I'll hear you out.
Yeah.
The proper response is, no, you're saying get rid of voting. Voting is the atom of democracy.
Yeah.
Without voting, you do not have democracy. Yes, the atom, not the atom.
Ah,
I thought I saw him like perk up, going like, "What?" when you said Adam.
Ah,
no, I was looking at why. How do I not play?
Oh, for Street Fighter 5, I have no idea.
Yeah, this is alien to me. I'm sorry, souls.
I've never been able to play Street Fighter 5 online, but then again, I don't subscribe to PlayStation Plus.
it seems slightly like we're winding down, are we?
I think so. Yeah.
Possibly.
Shall we go for parting words?
No, I think. Hold on. I have received a potion of revigoration,
Reinvigoration, huh?
and all of a sudden, are you ready for another hour? Who's ready for another hour?
You're asking me. You do realize I'm the marathon champion when it comes to the minions,
Well,
right?
all I gotta say is, yeah, you saying I just got a potion of invigoration sounded very tired.
Yeah. And was kind of a tiring.
Yeah.
But the potion.
As you should know by now, Adam, you've done how many shows with me? When I ask, it sounds like people are winding down. That is me being kind and letting people tap out gracefully, rather than going, okay, you guys ready for the next 5 hours?
Let me. Hold on, I gotta tell my pal.
I got an adorable little dog right here. He's being all cute. Hi.
Nice.
What? What do you want? What do you want, Jakey? Oh, my good boy. My good boy.
So Johnny is hypothesizing that your invigoration supplement was a small blue pill.
What?
Triangular shape.
Yep.
Well, that's gonna scratch the throat when it's going down. Isn't it?
Well, you have a very oddly shaped anatomy if it ends up scratching the throat.
Triangle.
I mean, it
shape,
could
though?
scratch the throat of whatever lady that you've got you're bringing home for the night that you're
I
taking
don't
the blue
consider
pill
that
for.
scratching the throat. It's more bashing the throat.
It could be, yeah. Just yeah.
You have to have a very thin and sharp one in order to get a scratch going.
What are you calling a prick?
Exactly. It should be more like trying to deep throat a tall boy or something.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude! A tall boy is pretty.
Pretty girthy, pretty big. Yeah,
Girthy.
that's why I went for it.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to. And here's the thing that Bug asked me. He was like, "Hey, are you enjoying playing D&D?" And I was like, I told him, like, dude, at work, I told him a story about, look, we're paladins, and we came across, a couple of random toolkits, and I was like, hey, so can we just take them? Just take them. Because for me, I'm thinking like video game RPGs, where it's like, oh, random loot, just take them and we'll sell them later. And they're looking at me, they're like, dude, we're paladins. We don't just take that
something.
shit.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, oh.
You can't steal, though if the owner is conveniently dead.
Yeah. That's appropriation for the church.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, their argument was it was weight.
Oh, that too.
But I guess it was a thing. But I guess it goes into the grocery cart thing. Are you the one to put it back? Who are you?
And
Keep
have
them
you
on.
shown Adam the old Paladin party videos yet?
No.
I think he would dig the old Paladin party videos.
I'm
back
in an
from-
all paladin.
He's in an all paladin party.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. I think that you would dig. There's a series by Neckbeardia from ages ago of the all paladin party.
I should
Where-
show him Icewind Dale. I built a party once that had 4 paladins and 2 clerics,
Nice.
and then I just steamrolled the game because I didn't care. We're running around in all plate mail, for the paladins. They're just walking into every single trap.
Yep.
Oh, no, I'm at half health. Cure wounds, cure wounds, cure wounds, cure wounds. Lay on hands, rest.
Yep. But yeah, it's the all paladin party from Neckbeardia is a fantastic story. Just like if you're interested in D&D stories,
Well,
if you look at
how about the most famous D&D story, the one about the gazebo?
Yep, there's the gazebo, but I'm saying for the really quality, amazing role playing and just plot, go to Neckbeardia's channel and any series of videos that are the of blank and of blank or videos, those are always good.
So,
Like there's of fire and of blood, I think is one of them, and of magic and of hands is another. And that's the of magic and of hands.
I
right,
think
Inquisitor?
I do. Yeah. I've read a couple of those, or
Yep.
seen a couple of those videos. But here, Adam, this was published in Dragon Magazine. Right. In the early 70s, Whitechurch ran his game, and one of the participants was Eric Sorensen. Eric Sorensen plays something like a computer when he games. He methodically considers each possibility before choosing his preferred option. If given time, he will invariably pick the optimal solution. It is always known to take it has been known to take weeks. He is otherwise, in all respects, a superior gamer. Eric was playing a neutral paladin in Ed's game. He was on some lord's lands when the following exchange occurred. Ed, you see a well-groomed garden, and in the middle, on a small hill, you see a gazebo. Eric, a gazebo? What color is it? Ed, pause. It's white, Eric. Eric, how far away is it? Ed, about 50 yards. Eric, how big is it? Ed, pause. It's about 30 feet across, 15 feet high, with a pointed top. Eric, I use my sword to detect good on it. Ed, it's not good, Eric. It's a gazebo. Eric, pause. I call out to it. Ed, it won't answer. It's a gazebo. Eric, pause. I sheath my sword and draw my bow and arrows. Does it respond in any way? Ed, no, Eric. It's a gazebo. Eric, I shoot it with my bow. Roll to hit. What happened? Ed, it's now a gazebo with an arrow sticking out of it. Eric, pause. Wasn't it wounded? Ed, of course not, Eric. It's a gazebo. Eric, whimper, but that was a +3 arrow. Ed, it's a gazebo, Eric. A gazebo. If you really want to try and destroy it, you can try to chop it with an axe, I suppose, or you could try to burn it, but I don't know why anyone would try. It's a fucking gazebo. Eric, long pause. He has no axe or fire spells. I run away. Ed, thoroughly frustrated. It's too late. You've awakened the gazebo. It catches you and eats you. Eric, reaching for his dice. Maybe I'll roll up a fire-using mage so I can avenge my paladin.
Nice.
At this point, the increasingly amused fellow party members restored a modicum of order by explaining to Eric what a gazebo is. And thus ends the tale of Eric and the dread gazebo. It could have been worse. At least it wasn't a gazebo on a grassy knoll.
Yep.
Too soon, sir. Yo.
I love that story. It's one of my favorite stories of D&D. It's a gazebo.
there's so many good D&D stories. Also, there's so many really shit D&D stories.
Oh, yeah.
good God.
I take every single one of those fucking read Reddit fucking YouTube videos with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, it's still fucking Reddit.
Yep.
So, meh. But there is some pretty horrible D&D horror stories on those.
For me, it depends on how recent it is.
Mm.
The more recent, the more salt I take it with, because there's a bunch of people that are just trying to make fodder for channels like Neckbeardia. And
Yeah.
Neckbeardia realizes this, and they say that they won't read any story that they think is too tailored for them.
Yeah. Like the ones that really get me are the ones that are like extreme over the top, that you cannot see any single human being with the slightest modicum of self-awareness ever doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty indicative of the whole Tumblr culture, and unfortunately to say, a lot of the new D&D fans, simply because of things like fucking Critical Role. Whether you like Critical Role or not, I don't care.
I will say, there was a cool looking poster of Critical Role.
I mean, yeah.
At that the Wisconsin store that you get. That they were playing Warhammer at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a cool poster.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say there's nothing of value from Critical Role. I'm saying that almost every single person I've met that has gotten into D&D because of Critical Role is kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I think that's a
problem with Critical Role isn't Critical Role itself. It's the people that were attracted by Critical Role.
Yeah.
Okay, no, Critical Role is the marijuana that is laced with shit that gets you into other shit.
Yeah.
And that gives marijuana a bad name. And all of a sudden it's like, dude, oh, marijuana, you smoking that marijuana? That's going to give you... No, there's a strand of marijuana that you don't want to smoke.
Yeah.
Because they're bad people that are, okay, they're not bad people, they're just misplaced people, or
I would say that you're hitting the right analogy. The problem is that now the more common marijuana in that analogy is the ketamine marijuana, is the fentanyl marijuana. It's like, that's the common kind.
You don't want that no more.
No.
Yeah, no, you got to go. Unfortunately, you got to go to the state provide.
Yep.
It is infuriating because, like I said, Critical Role in and of itself, there's absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
Well,
I do have some problems with the people in Critical Role, but
the people in it, but I'm saying the premise of Critical Role and the way Critical Role is done, not the people in it. Perfectly fine, works. It's amusing for that sort of thing. But the problem is the people that are attracted by it are the issue.
Yeah, I would say the other thing too with that, whole situation is the people that see Critical Role and therefore believe that every D&D session is like Critical Role.
Yep.
So like, dude, you are maximum autist at this point, dude. Calm down.
And that's where the problem comes, because that's where the little crack with comes the wedge.
Yeah.
It's these people who go in there and they're like, you know what? I see myself as somebody who, can play along and do the things. When they take that extra step to bullfuckery, is when they sit there and say, I expect everybody else to do
be
the same.
like, yeah. It's the one Alexopoulos or whatever his name's comic. Why are you excluding me? We've always played it this way.
Yeah.
That comic, yeah. And like, I'm not even like, all hell bent on conserving D&D and stuff like that. I like second edition. That's what I started with. But if it's easier for my players to play fifth edition, I'll play fifth edition.
3.5 lover, but I'll play fifth. I'll play Pathfinder. I'll play other systems.
Will you play second?
I'm willing to play second if a second game is available. But for me, the system that I originally played and made me go, fuck, I love D&D, was 3.5.
Sanguine says he'll play a solid second edition. You heard it here first.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have second edition PHP over there.
Yeah, I don't know. I just it sounded like he didn't want to play it, but
no, I've said if it's a really shit game, I don't want to play any game, even if it's a 3.5 game. If it's a shit DM, I don't want to play it. But if it's a
I see, you're just calling me out, huh?
Well, no, I was willing to play with you, and I've been willing to play with you. The only problem was other people kept on falling out of the fucking game.
I know.
Like goddamn flies.
I know. I'll say that's one thing that we've been talking about, and I've been keeping it a little close to the chest, but I do want to go and pick Icy and Shady's brain about the whole 2025.
all right.
Yes, I want to do that. But yeah, that's something I kind of want to do because there's a bunch of stories that I want to do like that. I think I could, run one shots and stuff like that and have everyone be really into. So
yep. But yeah, I just enjoy being part of role-playing games. I'm in a role-playing game right now. The one that we were in just went on hiatus. It was a World of Darkness werewolves game. That was based in the GM's own version of the World of Darkness. So its history was a bit tweaked. It was not quite as everything's fucked, but still everything's pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Just wasn't.
Come on.
In the back, it's sometimes people are actually just nice.
You're not going to say the full title of the game. You just said werewolf. You didn't go with the full title.
I didn't go Werewolf the Apocalypse.
The Apocalypse. Yeah.
Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th edition.
Right. I say the only World of Darkness game I've ever played was Changeling.
I played Vampire. I played Werewolf. I was going to be getting in a Scion game, but that never panned out, which really sucked. I had an amazing character planned out for the Scion game. So did I. A demigod of the Morrigan.
See, here's the thing. You know what I was going to do for my Scion game that we were actually planning for?
What were you going to do?
Baron Samedi.
Nice.
Voodoo up in this bitch.
Yep. Yeah, I had a character that was planned out that was going to be a Morrigan demigod. And he was going to be fucking fun to play. But that one fell through. I got to play this werewolf one, and my character is gloriously mental in the best possible way. And there was shit that hasn't been exposed about my character yet in-game that was decided between the DM and I. Like, you can pick feats and... Or not feats, but boons and bogeys. The feats and flaws, rather.
Yeah. Like the in
boons and flaws, rather. That's what they're called.
Not Pathfinder, Changeling. In Changeling, they were vices and virtues.
Yep. So you can pick those, and the flaws, of course, are negative. The boons are, of course, positive. So one of the positive boons that I got was seldom sleeps is the name of it. My character has to sleep 1 hour every day.
Instead of 8?
Yep, just 1 hour. One of the flaws that he got was a particularly powerful enemy of one of his ancestors. He doesn't know that he has this enemy. He doesn't know who this enemy was originally against. He just is getting fucked with by this enemy constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been determined that the way that he's been getting fucked with ever since he was born, effectively, is this mage has a heart out for his family and has been using dream magic on him.
Okay.
So every time that he sleeps, he's immediately plunged into a fight for his life.
Okay.
If he wins, another opponent spawns in. If he loses, he is held in a dying consciousness throughout the rest of his time asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So he feels all the pain, he feels everything that has happened to his body, but he doesn't die.
Okay.
So really fucks with someone if every time you go to sleep, you're immediately, here's a fight, better fucking win, bitch.
Yep.
And then if you win, round 2, motherfucker, round 3, motherfucker, let's see what you can take out. Let's keep going, bitch. Kind of fucks with someone, makes them not want to sleep. So it was both the flaw as well as explaining why he had the seldom sleeps and why my character had throughout the game been, so I don't need to sleep. You guys sleep, I'll stay up, I'll get it when I need to. Just fucking go to sleep, I'm good. And also explained, because this was decided partway through the campaign, throughout the entire campaign, when something popped up, there were moments where every other character would have a, oh shit, that's a thing moment. And my character would immediately just, let's fucking go, I'm on it. Jump into the fight, no hesitation. So the fact that every night when he sleeps is 1 hour, that 1 hour is spent in endless combat or dying painfully. That's the reason why every time a new threat pops up, it's just, I guess I'm fighting you now, bitch.
Mm-hmm. So you know what the flaw I had for my changeling character was?
What?
Or I had one major flaw that gave me access to a bunch of other boons, but the major flaw for me, anachronism.
Nice.
So imagine
We're sucked into the
Feywild, yeah.
The Feywild for an extended period of time, popped out a couple hundred years later.
Imagine a Wild West gunslinger in the middle of downtown Miami.
Nice.
Yep.
That was what I played. It was a lot of fun.
My character in the werewolf game, like I said, he has those flaws. He has a couple other flaws, couple other virtues. One of his other, or rather boons, one of his other boons is he has eidetic memory, perfect eidetic memory, which also played into how fucked up the nightmare situation is. Because he remembers every single second without flaw, without having to try. It's just there.
Oh, Minsk.
And it pays off as a virtue as well, because he's able to just call up random shit that happened in the game and know what's going on. But effectively, my character is
It's from Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Think almost like extreme English intellectual style education, only he was raised in an Irish Catholic family and has damn near the Cahulan mentality.
I was gonna say, are you the character you got there? Is it what kind of werewolf? Since you are playing werewolf, which one?
Fionnan, the Irish werewolf.
Okay.
The Fianna.
I'll say I'm not
So-
quite as familiar with their subclasses.
The Fianna are the ones that probably interbred with the Fae,
Okay.
and they
Magical
are,
blood.
Yeah, they have ridiculously magical blood, even compared to other werewolves. If a vampire decides to take a drink out of a Fianna, they get more out of the blood than just werewolf blood.
Okay.
And they have some really cool abilities. They are known for fighting, storytelling, and partying.
Okay.
So they just live everything dialed up to 11 effectively. And my character, due to the way that he was raised, he's a bit more serious, but he still has that everything's dialed up to 11, but he has this there's a time and place for shit mentality.
Mhm.
So when it's time to learn, he's studying like, oh fuck. He is absolutely brilliant. When it comes time to fight, he's an absolute goddamn monster. He fist fought a Nexus crawler. And he lived.
I'd say the one that I remember most from my changeling is I used a cigarette to expand a fire into a massive fire boulder, and then
Nice.
rolled it over a vampire.
Nice. One of the things that happened in the werewolf game is, are you familiar with the technocracy?
I'm very, very limited on any of my knowledge of World of Darkness. Pretty much
So-
only changeling.
The technocracy are effectively one of the biggest threats in World of Darkness when it comes to a set power. Because the technocracy are mages that have the highest banality about them. So changeling, they're just fucked around technocracy.
Mhm.
Because since you know changeling, you know that the more banal an environment, the harder it is for you to do anything.
Yeah.
They are pinned at a banality 10.
Oh, jeez.
Anything to do with technocracy is banality 10. So it is ridiculously hard to do anything Fey related. It is hard to do anything magic related. It is hard to do anything werewolf or vampire related around that level of banality.
Mhm.
But they're mages. The way that they do all their casting is rather than casting it directly, they enchant fucking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they make robots. When it comes to that, we were fighting against the technocracy because they had taken a cairn from one of the local werewolf packs. So we're fighting through this. We're effectively fighting T-100s
Okay.
with silver Gatling guns
Ooh,
and
lovely.
molten silver, effectively molten silver jet weapons. So think fire breath, only it's spraying molten silver.
Mhm.
So fire and silver damage. My character goes into this fight. All the other characters have kitted out to a certain respect. One of them's carrying a weapon that was made by the technocracy, and they're wreaking havoc with that. Another one is wielding a spear and using blast doors as shields. Another one has another sort of gun. My character walks into this battle, and the entire time he's wrestling shit, and he's throwing Braemar stones. Do you know what Braemar stones are?
No.
Have you ever heard of the Scottish shot put?
Oh, okay. You're talking about like the Scottish games.
Yep, the Scottish
Okay.
games where they have the Scottish stone or Scottish shot put.
Mhm.
That ranges from the light version is about 8 pounds. They go up to about 30 pounds.
Mhm.
My character was carving 60-pound Braemars. So he's walking around with cannonballs that he's just whipping at robots like a fucking fastball. Just taking out robot heads, taking out legs, taking out arms, and then running up, grappling them, ripping shit off of them as the rest of the party is tearing into everything around. My character had been so fucking terrifying in fights up to this point, the DM decided to put in an opponent specifically for my character to counter him.
Sounds a lot like my character. I'm gonna say because the changeling that I made was a fire heart, so I'm using the element of fire, right?
Yep.
That, in addition to I'm a gunslinger from the Wild West, so I'm running around with 2 handguns and the ability to manipulate fire. So I never got to the point where I had enough experience to become the primordial foundation, though, which was the 5th dot and element. If I'd have gotten to that, I could have literally become the Human Torch with 2 handguns.
Nice. Yeah, my character was already absolutely monstrous because you know how normal strength can go up to 5 dots, right?
Mm-hmm.
My character, in his human form, was strength 8. In his war form, he was strength 12. Strength 8 is you're lifting a ton. Oh, sorry. Strength 5 is you're lifting a ton. Strength 8 is you're flipping trucks. Strength 12 is you're flipping fucking semis.
Yeah, I remember our one friend who played Ogre as her kith and kin. She got to that kind of strength.
Oh, yeah.
So she'd be able to lift that.
You're right.
My character was an absolute monster in a fight, and he was, due to his intelligence, just thinking through fucking everything. And there was one point where he walked through everything that was most likely to happen from what we knew of our enemy, and all the rest of the pack was going, "You're fucking paranoid." One of the things that he said was, the enemy already knows where we are. They're probably already aware how to get us. They might try to kidnap us. We need to be careful. Everyone said that they're paranoid. The party wakes up 6 months later after being kidnapped.
Who's paranoid now?
Yeah, my character just kind of looks around at everyone afterwards. Doesn't say it. The next time someone says that he's paranoid, he just goes, "Yeah, remember the last time that you guys said I was paranoid? We woke up 6 months later."
Okay.
But sounds like we should probably do the parting words. You guys game?
Oh, yeah.
So, Adam, do you want to do yours first?
Well, since it's kind of a different setup this time, I can't really say, "Hey, thanks for your," but I will say, as I have this chance, I do want to say, God, you made me happy so much this week, Dovey. I love you. And I don't care what anybody says. She knows.
Inquisitor?
I have a Jake. That's all I need.
Copy that. And I'll leave off with my standard of, if you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And with that, have a good night all. The zoo is closed.
Night.
Good night.